Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Humble Billings. This is the Honest Recruitment Podcast. We're back again with our third and final guest. No, there'll be plenty more. Don't worry. I know,
that's a bold run. Three and done.
Yeah, done. That's it. Never seen again. No, and today we have Alex Dick. Questionable surname, but we'll get on to...
Parents are terrible humans.
Yeah, no, to be fair, quite cool actually. I wish
it's been quite handy in the world of recruitment having a stupid name. People
Yeah,
tend to remember it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely remember it. Yeah, that's a given. I mean, look, Alex reached out to myself. Obviously, you've seen the podcast. One of the main things that I recognised straight away was his title on LinkedIn. Obviously, you name yourself sort of the weirdest MD.
Yeah.
Which again we'll dive into shortly, guys. But yeah, sometimes CEO as well. That's also a question that will come up later.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah, sometimes CEO. I'm not sure. Managing director. Does he? What's going on? Who is Alex Dick? This is what we'll find out today. So today we'll be openly talking about the current market, sort of like the shit stuff, the good stuff, and I suppose the weird stuff as well.
Yeah.
Pretty much cool. So, I mean, look, starting into sort of Alex's journey originally, I mean, and personal journey, I think is sort of the driving force behind where we're going to start. So ultimately, I mean, you are quite vocal on LinkedIn. That's another thing. Because before, obviously, I get guests on, I always sort of look into who they are and what they're talking about. You're quite opinionated, quite vocal. You stand by your morals and values, which I think are quite personal to you as well. So we'll dive into that. Because that's quite interesting as well for people at home and for myself to sort of uncover. So yeah, let's see how we sort of get on. Obviously, again, we always sort of have the favourite beverage. Alex actually travelled down from London. Whereabouts in London?
So it's just outside of London, so a place called Fleet in Hampshire. So a good 220
How many hour drive was it? 5?
Ended up being 4.5 hours driving, but then 40 minutes waiting for a space in a queue to be able to charge my car.
Because you got the electric.
So left at 3 and got here at just gone 8 at the hotel. So yeah.
And then you're travelling back tonight.
Yeah. So after this, I'm going to drive back on. And the news said this morning, which I'm super happy about. Apparently, it's the worst day of the year to do a long journey.
Oh, is it?
Because all the kids are breaking up for school and from school for holidays. So yeah,
great.
I look forward to that one. So it's going to be a good 5-6 hours back. But it's fine. It was well worth it.
So yeah, on that, obviously, favourite beverage. Alex chose Diet Coke. So we're not drinking today.
Yeah.
Gutted.
It's a bit early in the day.
Might be half an hour long, this one.
Yeah.
Not as long, but cool. So I suppose like the first question is, how are you finding Manchester compared to London?
Quiet.
Yeah.
So everyone says Manchester's busy, but yeah, if you go to where our office is on Regent Street, I would see more people in my direct eye line if I step out of my office than I've probably seen in this area of Manchester. So it's a lot more chilled than I'm used to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like it actually.
You brought the weather with you?
Well, it was sunny when I came up yesterday. Now it's a mess.
Piss it down, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But it's hopefully I'm going to drive back towards the sun. That's the aim.
Yeah.
The north is renowned in the south for being rainy all the time. So.
We were talking about that yesterday, weren't we, about like the natural northern and southern divide as well. I mean, is this how many times? I bet you can count on one finger how many times you've been to Manchester. No, well, first time. This
is my first ever time in Manchester. So the only places I've been to in the north is Lake District. So I've been to Lake District a few times, but and I've been to Scotland loads of times because we used to have a house when I was a kid up in Scotland. But yeah, never been to Manchester, never been to Liverpool, never been to Newcastle. But yeah, I quite like it, to be fair.
Yeah, to be fair, I think even myself being a Mancunian, I think London is because of work, work in London, so I go there. But if it wasn't because of that, I've never been Newcastle. Went Liverpool maybe once or twice.
Isn't Liverpool quite close to here?
It is, you'd think so, yeah. But I think that's probably even more of a divide. The Scouse
and
the Manx. So, stay clear.
All out war.
All out war, yeah. So dive into things. I want to sort of rewind the clock back, right? So obviously you've got a lot of experience in recruitment, but talk to me about your journey in recruitment. So, and this helps me because I don't know. Did you start at ALS? So obviously,
no.
Alex is the MD of Alexander Lyons Solutions.
Yeah, no. I started with a company that was called Priority Legal at the time. Basically, I'd started a property company, did it just before the recession, bit of a mess.
Yeah.
So went really, really well and then really badly in the space of a few months. So I was sat there thinking I was going to be a millionaire by the time I was 25 and all this sort of stuff. Left uni to do it. And it looked for a time like I was going to be well on that path. I did sort of 400,000 in income for the business with very low overheads very quickly. But it relied on a mortgage market, and the mortgage market disappeared. And so I was left not really knowing what to do, got a bit sort of probably depressed in hindsight, but back then I just thought I felt sorry for myself.
Yeah.
Went to a charity event for the Samaritans that a family friend was putting on, and her husband just got chatting to him. I'd known him since I was a kid, and he owned a recruitment business, and he sort of said, look, if you're not doing anything, just come and...
Was that Prime?
Yeah, so it was called Priority Legal first, but Prime was like the parent company. So that shortly after that, Priority Legal was kind of shut. I think, in truth, there may have been a tax dodge from the owner, but Priority Legal was shut, and then we got amalgamated in Prime, and I was there for a bit. There was a lot of conversations with the owner while I was there about sort of my journey and what I was going to be able to do, and a number of those things didn't sort of come into play.
Yeah.
So very quickly, I was starting to realise that I kind of had to do my own thing. So I had a client that I was very friendly with that was in an area that I kind of I was doing but wasn't doing because I was being encouraged to help out with other stuff. Spoke to them and said, look, I want to do my own thing, and ended up kind of doing a joint venture with them, and spent really a big chunk of my working life turning that business from 5 people to 350, 400 people over the space of sort of 10, 11 years. And that was sort of the first incarnation of ALS, really. It was effectively a payment vehicle for me to be able to take money for the services I was providing. And it ended up being pretty successful.
Beneficial.
Yeah, like I sort of towards the tail end well, not even towards the tail end, it was always doing quite well, but in the latter days I was doing sort of 130, 140,000 pound months.
Wow. That's unheard of. Like that's not a tip. I mean, people do that in a year.
Yeah.
In typical markets.
Yeah.
What do you think was it the market in general that allowed you to sort of build that high?
To a degree, yeah. And sticking at something for a long time.
12 years, wasn't it?
11,
ALS
12
now.
years, something like that. I'm not great at, like, I can't remember how long I was married ago.
How old are you?
Yeah. 37.
Oh, you look good.
Depressing.
For that,
You're the first person that says I look good. My wife tells me I look 40, and my kids troll me about it. But yeah, I basically am someone, and I've always been someone that's quite driven, and I've always looked for gaps in a market, and I've always believed in working smart. And so I ended up running what was effectively a permanent legal partner desk, but I was running it like a temp desk. So I was running it at the pace of a temp desk. And I think my best year I placed 127 or 137, something like that, partner level lawyers. And
wow.
My best month I did mid-20s in 1 month. And it was just because I'd learnt how to sort of spin a very large number of plates at any one time, and almost giving the candidate some ownership of the journey as well, so that at certain points they come back to me rather than me chasing them.
Yeah.
Which then meant that I could sort of leave that plate spinning over there, and then when they're ready, they'll come back to me. Because I had candidates that I didn't place for, well, I think the longest was 7 or 8 years. And in the end, I remember having a conversation with him, and Rob, my ops director, was in the car, and he couldn't believe what I was saying, because I just said, am I allowed to swear on this, by the way?
Mate, go for it.
Fucking go for it. Yes, exactly. So the chap in question, he called me up and he was asking some questions about the contract. And I said, look, we've gone round for 7 years now. Yeah. Just sign the fucking contract. And that day he signed the contract, and he made me about 50 grand that year.
Apply a bit of pressure.
Yeah, just because sometimes being nice isn't that helpful. And yeah, I think there was another guy that I placed in 2020, and he did, about 65,000. So I basically created a new market in the world of recruitment in legal for a very niche business model, and that's kind of enabled me to do well. And COVID, in truth, was a real blessing, because the model I worked on centered around working from home and flexibility and all of that sort of stuff. And of course, COVID hits, firms suddenly start to treat people not that well, or start to tell them you've got to work from home, or you're being on furlough, and loads of people are still busy. So I had a massive raft of people getting in contact with me that I've been in touch with over years, the years preceding that said, actually, Alex, I think now's the right time. And so I was just in a position just to sort of knock them all into roles.
That ties into your vision though, which we'll get into shortly, because it is quite exciting as well.
Yeah.
And I think it will drive a lot of attraction. But one of the things you mentioned before was that you've always been a driven individual. Like, do you think that, and I know you're talking about in a recruitment sense,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I mean, personally, like before recruitment, I was obviously a teacher for 4 years. Yeah. And even then, like, imagine this, so picture this, imagine knowing that you are going to be successful, but don't know how you're going to get there.
Yeah.
It's very fucking stressful. When you're so driven and motivated to do something, but you know that's not happening where you are, like, it can be quite demotivating. And I think now I'm in recruitment and you can see quite clearly the financial goal, and you can see clear how it's going to happen.
There's a very obvious light at the end of a tunnel.
That's it, yeah. And it's finally like I can actually see a light. It's not actually just imaginative. So yeah, I mean, talk to me a bit about like your background then. Like, does that drive come from anywhere in particular?
To a degree, yeah. I was sort of fortunate in my upbringing, and there had been a reasonable amount of success at various points in my family's sort of lives. Yeah. Sort of going back a few generations and sort of current members of my family. So I think I'd seen the benefits of success, and wanted to be in a position to enjoy those benefits. And I've got a friend group where there are some phenomenally successful people, and again, seeing the lives that they have off of the back of that, to me, I want to set up sort of generational wealth for my family. In truth, that's the overarching thing. I want to be in a position where my kids and their kids and stuff like that don't have to ever worry about all the things all of us are worrying about at the moment. So yeah, I've always looked at the world and thought, if I'm not going to try and do the best I can, what's the point? And I think that's driven me, and I'm quite competitive as well. I always want to be doing better than everyone else.
Helps, yeah. I think I can definitely resonate with what you said there at the end. I think, you know, there's always an element of like surprise when I achieve something, but then also actually like I knew I was going to do it.
Yeah.
So like, for example, I told our MD, so we do a sort of like yearly Christmas sort of celebration where people get certain awards. And last year there was one consultant which got like 3 top biller awards. Nice. And I was literally looking at him like, you little prick, like, you know, just like fuming.
I'm coming for you.
Like, but I literally, like, after that day, I was like, right, when I go up on that stage next year and win that award, I've already thought about what I'm going to say. I don't know if you're into UFC, but Nate Diaz beat Conor McGregor. Yeah. And he was like massively underdog at the time. And he sort of like, when he won the fight, Joe Rogan, the commentator, says to him like, "Oh, tell everyone how you feel. Like, you just beat the champion. How would you feel?" And he goes, "I'm not surprised, motherfuckers." Yeah. And that's what he says.
That's what I'm
going to do. Just drop the mic. Yeah. And I'm visualizing it. And I think when you have that confidence that you're going to achieve something, you can do it. And you do seem like a driven individual, which I think will transwire like over to the consultants you have, and hence why they are billing quite well, working good for you as well with the flexibility they have. So. I mean, I looked at your LinkedIn as well, mate. Were you like a chairman at an animal rescue? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so when I was a kid...
Are you big into animals yourself?
Yeah. Well, it's just making the world a bit of a better place. But yeah, I've got pets, of course. But when I was a young kid, on my parents' honeymoon, they met a chap called John Hicks who started a charity called International Animal Rescue. And that's quite a big animal charity. So we spent a lot of time as kids sort of going to where he lived and spending time with him, sort of with all the animals that have been rescued. And
what animals were they?
Oh, all sorts. Horses, donkeys, badgers. Wow. Apparently, I was told by him, let a badger piss on your foot, because if you don't, it's going to bite you. So yeah, weird things like that. Yeah, parrots called Dennis that hated me. He bought a massive farm, and there were all sorts of animals there. But they did a lot to sort of to try and stop fox hunting and stuff like that. And yeah, so through him, he just asked me to get in touch with sort of to help with the next thing that he was doing. And I agreed to do it, but on one condition, that people that are a bit too passionate about animals can't outvote me, so that we don't end up just spending money on silly stuff because people go, oh, that's a puppy, that's cute, let's spend thousands of pounds or whatever the currency is, depending on the currency of the country, looking after them. Actually, let's do as much as we can. So yeah, I worked in that for quite a while, and yeah, it was good. But a lot of us that were involved ended up sort of ending up in positions where we didn't have time to do stuff meaningfully, and so hence it sort of went the way it did. But yeah, it's my overarching thing is make the world a slightly better place than I found it.
Yeah, I think it goes to show how good of a person you are. In my opinion, I think all animal people are good people.
Yeah, you tend to find people that are nice to animals tend to be.
Yeah, you got
nice
2 dogs
humans.
yourself, haven't you?
Yeah, Charlie and Sam. Yeah.
Which one's the Rottweiler?
The German Shepherd.
German
So I've
Shepherd.
got a German Shepherd who's Sam, and then Charlie's the working cocker. But he's a wonky working cocker. I'm pretty sure the dad that we were shown was the dad is not the dad.
Okay.
I think there might
Bit of a
be
runt, you're saying? Or?
Yeah, no, I think there was a lurcher walking around the yard that we picked him up from, and I'm quietly confident that lurcher was the father and not this sort of pedigree working cocker that was shown to us in a picture.
Yeah.
But he's very sweet. He's very sweet.
It made me laugh when we first spoke on the Teams. I think I mentioned it yesterday when you came into the office as well, with your German Shepherd.
Yeah.
And when you go out and walk it, that people think you're a policeman, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can just see it. I can see it.
Well, it's
now.
because I've got no hair, and a dog that would be a sniffer dog, and the other dog that would bite you.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think everyone just
PC
assumes
Dick.
I'm a police officer. That'd be a terrible. Well, so my dad used to be a police
Oh,
officer.
wow, okay.
So he would have been PC Dick at a certain point. So yeah, I'm not sure he's a very good police officer, but yeah, he was a police officer nonetheless.
So yeah, diving more into the recruitment side of things. So obviously, 12 years experience, is that about right?
12, 14,
Well,
something like that.
12 years at
12
ALS.
ALS.
Yeah.
And then
So
however many years before.
let's keep it at ALS then.
Yeah.
How has the business changed in 12 years? Because the market changes every fucking month.
Yeah.
How has it changed in 12 years?
So it became increasingly successful when it was just me on my Todd, and Rob was in it for a bit, and there was a guy called Richard who was in it for a bit, but mainly it was me on my Todd. And it went well. Then the thing that I'm sure we'll cover happened, and my ethos changed, and I then decided I'm not going to just be this selfish guy who's going to just make as much money as possible and buy shiny things with it. Actually, I need to think bigger picture and create something of value, because it doesn't matter how much you're billing as a one-man band, your business is basically valueless, because the second you remove yourself from it, the value's disappeared. So I needed to build something that doesn't need me.
Yeah, need the
and
fundamentals.
And so sort of 2020 was when I started very actively thinking about that, and was in a financial position to do it. And so early sort of 2021 started to shift it and hire people and change the direction of travel for the business. Because, as you say, my aspirations are quite significant. So previously it was place as many people as I can and make as much money personally as I can. And now it's build a business that's as big as I can build it.
I think that's because of you growing as an individual though as well. Because like now I'm just very selfish recruiter. Like don't get me wrong. Like I'm manager now, so naturally I have to sort of give my team roles and stuff like that. So it's not all about me. But I'm just keen to hear, like, do you think it's not a change in the market? It's actually just a change in
it's changing me
in mindset.
Yeah. And I don't really have an ego, so I don't really care if, like, I would actually prefer that other people are their name is in lights rather than me. So for me, I want to build the best business to be a home for the best people. That's the aim.
Let's talk about that vision then, right? So that'll be interesting to dive into now, since we're on the topic. So when we first had that Teams call, I think the first thing that you said to me was like you wanted to sort of create a home, a safety net for 360 recruiters.
Yeah.
So emphasize on that for me, please.
Yeah. So I fundamentally believe in the 360 model. I'm not a big fan of the 180 model. I think it's a very good financial model, but I just find it a bit dull. I wouldn't want to work in that. I like an environment where I'm responsible from cradle to grave, and I'm sure there are other people out there that have that same feeling, and it's things like commissions. If you've got lots of people, commissions get split lots of ways. If you're responsible from bringing on the client to doing the work to placing the work, and then of course they stay, which we all pray as recruiters, then if there's not 5 other people in that chain, or 3 other people, 2 other people, then you're in a good position to haggle for money, aren't you? Because you've generated that business from scratch. So I prefer that model as a business. And for a couple of years, everyone was telling me I'm stupid and that the only path to greatness is 180 and having delivery consultants. And of course, what's happening in the market now.
What did that Rec to Rec say to you? So I'm a Rec to Rec coach, by the way.
Well, I've had loads of recs.
One of the
recs
few
tell
you
me I'm an
like.
idiot. so yeah, I think most recs don't like me. But that's fine. But I think I was told by a rec to rec very early on that nobody would want to join the business because everyone wants to be a 180 or a account manager or a BD person, and that no one's going to want to work in a 360 environment. And I said, that's bullshit. Like horses for courses, different people want different things.
Yeah.
They told me I wouldn't be able to hire anyone at all because the world is very busy in the world of recruitment, and so good recruiters are just going to go to the big boys and big girls. And I'm like, nah, I don't agree. And look, when I was doing the legal recruitment side of things, I was told that no one's ever going to want to work that way and all of that sort of stuff. So that actually is the thing that spurs me on. When people tell me I can't do something, I'm like, well, sod you then. Okay,
I'll show you.
I'll show you. And so we hired a load of people, and in truth, I got a bit excited because people wanted to join. I believed every recruiter was going to build a fortune naively, and so we hired a load of people that most of whom aren't with us anymore because they didn't go on to bill. They sat there on big salaries and twiddled their thumbs, and there was a bit of a learning lesson for me there of okay, not everyone is driven, not everyone is there and is a good person. Actually, and there are some inherently very bad people out there, and we've had a fair few of them. So that very quickly taught us some lessons that we needed to learn very quickly, and our process is hugely more rigorous now than it was.
What about the vision? What would you say the vision is? So like ALS, what do you want to achieve? What do you want people at home to know about what you're trying to create?
So what I want to achieve is a very large, incredibly rapidly growing 360 recruitment business. Initially in the UK, then in the States. I want to be known for flexibility. I want to be known for treating my staff like adults, both. And that can be a positive and a negative because it means you have grown-up conversations when things aren't going right, but you don't scream and shout at people. I have done that once, but I lost my rag and apologised for it afterwards.
It happens. Yeah.
And that was more of a personal thing. I just lost my rag, but sometimes that was me, not them. But yeah, I want to be the best home, and that's across the board. So treat them like grown-ups, give them the flexibility they want and need, and leave that as unlimited, because if you've got the right people, they're not going to take the mick. They're going to use it for the things that matter to them. Pay more than anyone else, better commissions as well, better incentives. Like every facet of a normal recruitment business, we want to be better than. And I'm very happy to invest in that. I remember when I first spoke to our investor and we were talking about it, he was like, so if you're making 10 million and I have 10%, will I get £1 million? I was like, not really, no, because I'll probably be putting about 9 back in. Like, I'm sure the tax man will want something.
Yeah, of course.
But most of the profit is going to be going back into the business, because that's how I'm going to drive the growth. I'm going to drive it through being the best we can be. And a lot of that's going to cost money. And so I'm going to invest very heavily in the business in a way that others won't. Because if I'm investing more and I'm treating people better, it makes it very difficult for other people to compete with us longer term. Because what can they compete with us on? Do they want to pay people more than we're paying people? Okay, well, you're going to end up with no money. And more flexibility is impossible. So... and we look after people both in their work lives and outside. So we support people regardless of situation, because I firmly believe if you're not there for people when they're going through tough times, how could you expect them to be there with you in the good times? So
treating people like an adult is the key. And I think, being a rec, I speak to hundreds of business owners weekly. And I have to take briefs of businesses, some that I don't agree with the model, and I always advise and say, this is the market trends and other businesses doing this, maybe you should. This is why talent don't want to come to your business, because you are very heavily KPI driven. You basically are a call center.
A lot of them, but that's that model, isn't it? It's get everyone doing a tiny bit of the process, and then basically make them replaceable, because you don't have to pay people very much if they're replaceable. And to me, that's just, it doesn't appeal. It doesn't appeal. But I've had lots of arguments about this. Loads of people argue with me, but I fundamentally believe treat people like grown-ups, treat people properly, and they will thrive. And
Yeah, just for context, Alex has like a large number of staff working for him at the moment. All of them are fully remote.
Yeah. Well, remote first. We've got an office in London, so people will pop into that. And I'm not averse to offices. If people want to work from offices, they can have an office. But yeah, we're a remote first business. So I describe the policy as work from anywhere because I don't actually mind if someone's working from a beach in Barbados. Like, if work from anywhere you like.
I wouldn't do much working, but
that's about getting the right people.
Yeah,
if you've got someone that's driven enough and they want to do the deals, they're going to do what they need to do the deals. So yeah, I give them the flexibility to make their own decisions on how they work and when they want to work. And it's just stuff like we still get messages being like, "Oh, do you mind if I go and walk the dog?" I'm like, "Do you want me to come?" It's quite a long drive.
I got two. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to the doctor's. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want me to do you want my advice? Like, why are you asking me? And it's but people are so used to having to justify every second of their day that they still feel, even though we give that flexibility, they still feel they have to justify it. So there's on WhatsApp, there's a lot of spam gifs. So whenever people send me that, they just get a spam gift back. I'm like, stop spamming me.
You love a gift.
Yeah, I love a gift. And yeah, if they keep sending it, I'm like, it goes, stop spamming me, you fucker. And then eventually it's like, it then becomes a group thing of, this person's a spammer. Could you ask them to stop spamming me? And we just make a joke of it because yeah, humor is a good way of teaching people that the behaviours that they've had in the past they don't need to do anymore, because we have enough respect for them to trust them to do what they need to do.
Yeah, I think as well, because the fact that you give your employees that flexibility and quote unquote that home, even though they might be at home or a beach in Barbados, they still feel at home in their work presence. And working with someone like yourself across the market, I probably couldn't name on one hand, other individuals who have bosses like you, because I think there's a lot of trust that goes into it.
Yeah.
And
huge amount.
Hence why, in my opinion, you guys aren't just going to get to a massive headcount in a year. It's going to be a slow organic growth because you have to funnel them right people, and you have to actually, earn their trust. I suppose from both parties. They have to trust you, and you have to trust them.
Well, most people think when we give them how we work, most people say, what's the downside?
What's the catch?
Yeah. And there is a massive downside. You're not coming into a vertical where there's a shed load of clients and you can just step in and start billing on a desk instantly. The only way you're going to be able to achieve that is bringing it. So the people we're employing are joining us with their vertical already sorted. They know what they're doing. They know how they're working and all of that sort of stuff. And I've got to be honest, the vast majority of recruiters aren't in that situation. So we get 200 applications a week, there or thereabouts. And out of that, there's probably a handful that are meaningfully suitable for what we do. And the vast majority just see headlines like up to 80% of billing or flexible working or remote working, and they just click apply.
Which, by the way, yeah,
but you got to bill a lot.
Yeah, I know. It's
we will have earned
crazy.
A lot of money at that point. But think of it this way: if someone's £1 million biller earning 300 grand somewhere, and they could come to us and get 80% for a massive chunk of that, we're not going to be making much money on that. But that £1 million biller wouldn't have joined us otherwise. So why not
keeping them
play a different game?
Yeah,
and that's what I'm to a degree trying to do: change the game. Putting the team in the forefront rather than as the business go, it's all about us, it's all about us, it's all about us. It's not. We are a sum of our parts, and so it's all about the team and putting them first. And if we support them and put them first, they will either sink or swim. And some people thrive in that environment, and some people believe they will and don't. But that's fine. Even when we're parting ways with people, we'll still be supportive. Like, there was a chap who worked with us for a while, and he had done mediocrely at best, like not enough to justify being with us. And the day I told him that we were going to part ways, that day I got him 5 interviews with other recruitment businesses that he was more suited for on the same day. And he'd got a job offer within a week. And I didn't get a fee. I should have put a rec to rec hat on and got a fee. But it's just I'm in groups with lots of other recruitment business owners, and he was not suited to us because he's not really a 360 recruiter, but he's a very good manager. Yeah. So sticking him in an environment where he's managing a team and
you don't have to do that either.
No, but
it's the aftercare, isn't it?
But it takes 2 seconds of my time, and I will always help people if I can. So I get loads of messages from people asking advice and stuff like that. And whenever I can, I will reply, because if you're going to be vocal about your views on the world and what you think recruitment should be, if someone then gets in touch and asks you your thoughts on something, I would just see it as a bit daft. If you're putting all this stuff out there, then somebody asks a question on it and you're just like, bugger off. I'm like, no, I'll speak to anyone. And actually, since I've been doing video content, I get increasingly nice messages. So it's quite nice to wake up in the morning and have someone going, oh, I really like what you said here. Or I had a guy call me inspirational, so I forwarded that to my ops director, and he was like, off, you twat.
Like, now, aren't you? I am inspirational.
I keep putting not all heroes wear capes in the group chats and all that sort of stuff just to wind them up. Yeah.
No, it's I mean, since I've obviously sort of like really sort of up the personal branding side and putting videos out and content, like I was actually out in a bar in Manchester. And by the way, I work from Manchester in London, so London's my market. So like, I'll go out with other people I work for, and their market is Manchester. So they see clients going on runs and, on the lunch, and they see candidates just all about the place. I never get that. But I was in a bar one night, and like 2 people come up to me, oh my God, Callum, I see you on LinkedIn, like, dead inspirational.
Yeah.
And I was like, fucking who are, like, automatically, like, who are you, mate? I don't know you. But then when I actually like listened to him, I was like, fuck, like I'm actually credible to you. You actually are gaining something from my weird but wonderful content, because it's questionable at times. I admit that.
It's more fun to be questionable occasionally. The world would be very boring if everyone put out the same content that the most people do, which is, I've got a new job, would you like to apply? It's like nobody cares. So put out real content, and look, you're going to swing and miss occasionally, and there's going to be some stuff that does really well and some stuff that doesn't. But no, there are very few people putting effort into doing even things like this. At the end of the day, there's a handful of people that are doing it, many of whom are doing it poorly, and so there is space in our world for personal branding and putting effort into that. And look, how am I going to get ALS as the home to be at unless I shout from the rooftops about what we're about?
You've got to. I think as well, in terms of obviously the business you're trying to create, I suppose like being vocal online helps, because you guys don't necessarily have like a massive company culture in an office. Like, guys are all spread around. So it'd be interesting to hear how you were building the company culture and how you guys communicate being sort of spread around as well.
Yeah. Well, we have morning meetings every morning, but not the usual recruitment morning meetings. Which is like, what's your day plan? What are you going to do? It's literally just the chat you would have in the office as you're turning up. So everything from I would say Love Island, but this season's been so poor. It's
I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm a big fan of crap TV. It's quite sad. But yeah, so we'll talk about all the usual stuff. We'll talk about what people got up to at the weekend. We'll talk about all the normal stuff, so people can have that bonding time. Everyone will have not just business calls on Teams, but they'll have friendly calls. When we're calling people, it's not just to talk about work stuff. We will always chat, so I know most of the things that are going on in most of my consultants' lives.
Do you watch Love Island because they do?
No,
it's
most
like,
of them
shit.
don't.
All my
take the
employees
piss
watch
out of
Love
me
Island.
for it. Most of them take the piss out of me for it. But
I thought you'd doing it just like, don't worry, I watched the last episode before the meeting, just catching up on the highlights.
I watch trashy TV. I like TV that requires no thought whatsoever, because my brain is going at 1,000 miles an hour at all times. So actually, I don't want to watch TV that requires me to think. I want to watch something that's mundane, where people are having boring conversations, and that's sort of my
I've got a
release. Yeah, exactly. And also, I've got young kids, so there's a limit to what you can watch with young kids.
I mean, I used to watch Love Island when I was in school, right? And this was like when they used to smoke. I literally before it, I used to do about 100 press-ups. I wanted to fucking, I think everyone went for a stage of, I want to be on there. And then I used to do 100 press-ups, and then I'd have a fag out my window, and then watch it. And I was like, what am I doing? And I felt like I was actually getting myself in like this headspace of like, if I'm not on that show, I'm a no one, because all the girls in school wanted to be on there, all the guys wanted to be on there.
Well, the world has changed so dramatically since I was a kid, because nobody gave a shit about any of that.
I wonder if there's any ex-recruiters on Love Island. Let's get them on.
Well, there is that recruiter that was on last year's season.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't watch it. We'll have to get him on. Who is it?
I can't remember his name, if I'm honest. But yeah, I was connected with him on LinkedIn. I was like, that face looks familiar.
Yeah, I've seen you.
And and one of my staff worked with somebody he worked with, and was like, yeah, I've met him. I'm like, again, I'm not great with popular culture, so I don't get excited by it. Like at the hotel I was at, there was a rapper having dinner next to us, and one of my team who was with me last night was so excited, and I literally couldn't understand it. I was just sat there going, I don't even know who this human is. Yeah. There's a bloke called Fredo. Apparently, he's very famous.
But he's from London, actually.
Yeah.
From always.
Well, I was just sat there going, I thought Fredo was a 50p little chocolate bar.
Yeah, it is.
So I was just like, I don't know who this is. I sent a picture to my wife. She went, yeah, haven't got a clue who that is either. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, diving more into your business, one of the interesting things was the one and only, to what I understand, is the one and only KPI you guys sort of have as well. Because, again, someone who speaks to multiple businesses understands multiple business dynamics.
Yeah.
The ways that now that places are moving post-COVID is everyone's in the office 5 days a week, and KPIs, like, we want to check every fucking minute you call in, whatever it may be. What's your guys looking like?
I don't care about any of that stuff. Mainly because I've always been of the view that one call, if you can do a 10-minute call and make a placement, then that's significantly more valuable than doing 3, 4, 5 hours worth of calls and making no placements. Yeah,
that's not a proactive KPI call times. I agree, because I've seen it firsthand where people will be applauded and congratulated for 40-minute qualification calls and they never place the individual. Yeah. Honestly, I can qualify 3 people in that time. Sometimes, you miss things, but that's why I have numerous calls set up.
Yeah.
When you know
people. Yeah.
When you know. I think it's a sign of good recruiter if you can speak to someone in the first 10 minutes, it's a placement.
Yeah, you want to know your market enough to be pretty confident. And I don't sweat the small stuff. It comes back to treating people like adults. The people that are joining us at a point that they know what it takes to do recruitment. So why should I stand in their way? If they've got clients that they work with in a certain way, I don't need to tell them how I work. I work weirdly, so there's no point in trying to emulate what I do. So leave them to do what they do. If they join us as a 300 grand biller who's billing 300 grand doing their own thing as a 360 recruiter, well, if they've got clients that know them, know how they work, and they've got a candidate base that knows them and knows how they work, why should I then say, well, you haven't called enough of them? It doesn't, to me, it doesn't make sense.
And then it's even the way that they do work, because that's what you just said, the way that you work is weird.
Yeah.
And other people, so this is, again, a similar story to myself. Like, I've experienced firsthand now managing, actually how I recruit, I don't think anyone else can, because it's very scatty. Yeah. And you mentioned before about spinning multiple plates. Some of them smash as I'm spinning them, but I get money on the table, I get shit done, and the clients love me. I couldn't teach that to other people, because I personally think they need to be more structured. But then what I'm trying to implement in my team now is it's the culture that Spotify implemented, and that was part of their rapid growth back in before COVID. And what they did was they implemented a test and learn. So it's not trial and error, it's test and learn. They gave multiple employees the same end goal and just left them and found their own way to get there. And what it does is it promotes experimentation, and it basically promotes self-sufficiency as well.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So they just go and do their own thing and find their own way to get there.
Yeah. And look, for people to be truly successful, we can all create because everyone says that you could teach a monkey to do recruitment if you follow the processes. Yeah. But that's true. You can teach people to be a mediocre recruiter, but if their personality is not coming into it, they're not going to build relationships. If they're not building relationships, they're not going to do well. So I'm a great believer in be yourself, and some people hate, some people like you, but the ones that like you will probably like you properly. And look, the people I'm hiring are, as I say, they're experienced. They know what they're doing. So the bit that matters is what they build. Yeah, it's as simple as that. But they come to us knowing that, and they're joining us because if they build what they historically build, they're going to earn more. So we all know the page we're on. It's not a surprise to anyone. So,
and I assume as well, there's going to be a lot of weight off their shoulders due to the fact that you are giving them so much flexibility, treating them like adults. Yeah, that then ties into the next thing, right? So, in terms of your sort of idea behind creating the business, which is a safety net, a home for good billers to make a lot of money, but also be treating like adults. I know that you're a massive promoter of hybrid sort of flexi hours, sort of having that self-sufficiency because of obviously something that happened in your past previously. So if you won't mind sort of sharing what happened and the reasons why that you are so strong and vocal about giving employees time at home to do work.
So 2020, fun year for everyone. In some ways, more fun for me than others. So February 2020, second kid was born, amazing, brilliant. Then 2 weeks to the day later, my wife Claudia had 2 giant heart attacks, and pretty catastrophic heart attacks, and it was touch and go for a bit whether she was going to survive. Fortunately, of course, she has, and has made what is quite a remarkable recovery, given that half her heart is dead. So that was the light bulb moment that shifted my mindset, because before that we kind of lived minute to minute. It was like, I'm going to bill a lot this month, so we can go out and spend it and buy shit like this, just stupid watches and stuff like that. And then in that moment, it went from that to, oh crap, like I could not be here at any point, because my wife is phenomenally healthy person. She eats well. She's not your stereotypical heart attack patient. It was the hormones from the pregnancy that caused it. So when you spend a year with the person you love more than anything being in and out of hospital with 2 kids, having to question whether you're going to be a single parent and all of that, it's going to change your mindset. And it literally was night and day for me. I went from one human to another human in the space of no time at all. And was I struggled, of course, with my mental health over that period, because I was sort of trying to keep it together for everyone. I still had to work because I was a one-man band. And it was tough. It was really tough. For some reason, I only really broke down about it once, and it was I couldn't even breathe. I sort of called a helpline where you can talk to psychologists or psychiatrists that I had access to. And I couldn't even get my words out. I was on the phone for about 4 hours, like hyperventilating and stuff. And it was the first
a while
time.
after?
Yeah, it was like 7-8 months.
Wow.
But she came in and out because she kept getting splits in her arteries that kept needing stents, and because she doesn't present like a normal heart patient, the hospitals aren't that good at spotting it, because they just go, oh, you're fit, you're fine. But the problem is there are these tears that are flaps that block her arteries. So it was the first time I've been on my own, because I always had the kids around, and my mother-in-law would sort of jump in and was hugely supportive. So she came and lived with us and would sort of take care of the kids, and then she would go out when the kids are at school or nursery or whatever. And it was the first time she'd taken them for a bit, I think, because I was going to go up and see my wife at hospital. And it was the first time I've been on my own, and I got off a really good candidate call, actually, and then just something in my brain just, and I broke down, and I think I probably should have been speaking to people a lot before that point, but I was so concerned about just keeping my shit together and being all right for everyone else, because it's not nice for my in-laws.
Yeah.
It's their daughter that they're seeing go through that. Like, as a parent, I can't even imagine what it's like to go through that with your kids. So I was sort of trying to be strong for everyone, and not really, in truth, looking after myself. And if I had my time again, I would have taken the support that was available to me, but didn't.
You can't judge that, though. Like I said, I think you sat here now to be able to explain a story like that, and then to have a vision that's motivated and stemmed through something so personal to you. That's why the passion oozes out of you as well. And also, I genuinely do believe that your business will be successful, and you will gain and attract some top talent that want to work for someone who understands. Like, you've been through something which not a lot of people have. Like, don't get me wrong, everyone's been through some shit. Yeah. But like, when it actually changes your mindset, and that's the difference between you, because it can make or break you a situation like that. And this is definitely
and that's
major.
The way I always see it. Like, you have choices in life. You get to a fork in the road, and you have moments, and everyone has them, and I'm aware you've had them yourself. Yeah. And in that moment, for whatever reason, and I can't justify why the reason is, I chose to try and take that negative energy and turn it into something positive. And my hope is that, and I'm confident that ALS will be that thing, and we will hopefully make a lot of lives of recruiters better, and by virtue of that, the lives of lots of other people.
Yeah.
And look, I get feedback from some of my people now saying that they've never been happier, they've never been less stressed, and all of that sort of stuff. And to me, that makes it worthwhile. That's the reason I'm doing it. So it's the most important thing to me, to be honest, making the people around me's lives
it makes
better.
I think as well, family seems to be important for you. You said before you want to set up your family's life for multiple generations incoming, so that they will be stable. And again, like you come from a comfortable background yourself. Yeah. You're still.
I haven't seen much of it, if I'm honest. It finished at my schooling. But yeah. So I'm not sat here with a sort of trust fund being paid millions of pounds in the background. I live off of what I earn, and always have. So everything I have, I've earned. But I've seen, it was my grandmother's generation that was the last generation of that lot, and they've been phenomenally successful. Household brands were owned by them. But yeah, I've also seen how money can change people, and how that can collapse an empire, and
how has money changed you then? So like, what would you say right now in a situation where you're running a business? You obviously, I've seen your car, like, you know, you're doing okay for yourself. Yet you're still putting money back into business. It's not like you're taking it. But what I'm saying is, how has that sort of disposable income now sort of benefited you and your family? Yeah,
so the reality is I haven't paid myself for a very long time, because I'm all in with ALS. It allows us to do things that we wouldn't be able to do. It allows us to go comfort. It allows us to live in a house we wouldn't be able. And I don't live in a flash house, but it allows us to live in a decent sized house. We're not on top of each other. It's allowed us to go on some pretty cool holidays that we wouldn't have been able to go on if sort of holidays that cost more than the average annual income for a couple of weeks, and stuff like that. But again, my motivation isn't money in isolation. My motivation is providing a good life for the kids, and of course money helps with that. But part of the flexibility and everything is being able to be a present father and take my daughter to school every day and pick her up every day, and when my son's at school, being able to do the same with him, and all of that sort of stuff. And that in truth is the bit that matters to me more than anything else, is to be able to share those experiences with my family, because I'm bang on the family.
But it
bang on the family train.
Yeah, but it's a knock-on effect as well, because someone like yourself, who's a family man and an animal man, fucking hell, and any woman's dream. And can you cook as well?
No.
There we go.
I'm a bit fat and can't cook, so yeah. I think my wife would say any of them can have me. I think the thing is, I'm a bit, as I say in my thing, I'm a bit weird. I'm not the easiest person to live with. I'm slightly on the spectrum, so certain emotional things I don't deal with the way other people would, which is hugely frustrating.
Do you know what sort of, if you don't mind sharing, is there anything in particular on the spectrum?
So I'm very mildly autistic and very heavily dyslexic.
Okay.
So went to dyslexic school and everything. Yeah. But I always described myself as neurodiverse before it was cool, because it's seemingly cool to be neurodiverse now. Whereas I was going through dyslexia at a time when schools didn't really understand what it was, and parents referred to me in the term retarded when I left my junior school, going to the dyslexia specialist school and stuff like that. And they couldn't believe that when we met up and I was 13 and done my common entrance, I got the best common entrance grades in the country. So I got 100% in most of my exams. And when my parents explained that to them, they're like, "Oh, we thought basically he just dribbled in the corner of a classroom," but it's because I didn't understand the way they were teaching me. And so I was very fortunate that because of my grandparents, I was able to go to a private school that was specialist in dyslexia, called Moon Hall, that at the time was the only dyslexic specialist school in the country. And it was an unusual school in the respect that it was run by educational psychologists at the time, and you had an IQ requirement to get in, which I don't think you'd be allowed to do anymore. No. But yeah, if you had an IQ below 135, you weren't allowed in. And there was only one kid who had an IQ below that, and their schooling didn't really work for them in the same way as it did for the rest of us.
Yeah, I've got ADHD.
Yeah.
I speak about it quite openly as well, but it's my superpower, it really is. Yeah. So when I worked so obviously I went my whole school career, like not career, but my whole when I was actually a pupil,
school life.
Like I was in all the bottom sets, like I was just
probably a bit of a little shit.
Well, I was, but then also like there wasn't a massive attention disorder to that.
Yeah.
I mean, you see when the woman was helping us set the equipment before, I'm just like, Alex, please listen.
Yeah. But it's that path in life again, isn't it? You can realize you've got something and either try and harness it as a superpower, or let it define you and let it hold you back.
Yeah.
And from what you're saying, what you've done is you've chosen to use that scattiness that comes with it to actually enable you to work in a different way that works for you. And I'm a firm believer in anyone can be great if they play to their strengths, but also are self-critical. A thing that seems to be lacking quite a bit at the moment is people willing to be self-critical. Everyone wants to blame everyone else, whereas actually sometimes if you look at what you could have done to improve a situation or how you could have done something different,
take accountability.
Take accountability. You can really grow from that and get better at the thing you're doing. And I'm a firm believer in everyone should strive to be better. Even the month where I bill 130 grand, I'll be sat there still beating myself up over that candidate I lost, because it could have been 140 grand.
There's a book by Chris Hurst called like No Bullshit Leadership, and he was actually part of the England rugby team coaching system at one point. And he said that every single time that they would lose a game, they would go out on the piss and then brush it off, and then probably, just sort of feel a bit like morbid about it. But when they win, back in the training session, 9 a.m. the next day, thinking, right, we've won.
Why they didn't do it better.
Yeah, how can we, right, we've won, but how can we win better?
Yeah.
And I think it's almost that like saying as well, when you get knocked down, not like in a fighting sense, but in any aspect, when you get knocked down, stay down.
Yeah.
Stay down for a second, realise why you were down there. Because if you just keep getting back up, you're just going to keep getting tumbled over. And I think there is an element of being a self-critique to yourself, because you can only really, and I think we talked about in the last podcast, comparison being a thief of joy. And I truly do believe that the only person you should compare yourself to is yourself.
Yeah, be the best version of yourself.
I agree. Yeah.
It's hugely important, and it goes back to that Love Island thing you were talking about earlier. You were fixated on something that is unachievable for the 99.999% of people. So you're judging yourself against things that you shouldn't be. You should be judging yourself of, am I the best at the thing I do that I want to be good at? Am I the best human I can be? Am I nice to the people around me? Can I be relied upon? If everyone actually viewed themselves in that frame, the world would be so much a better place, and everyone would be better off. But unfortunately, most people are hugely selfish, and look, that's fine.
I feel like people would be more content as well within themselves, because you get a lot of people who almost are a bit like sour tasting about others maybe doing better and stuff like that.
I've been like that myself.
I don't give a fuck. I want everyone to do their own thing. Just don't get in my way.
Well, in my youth, that's how I was. I would see someone had a car that was nicer than my car, and I'd be like, oh, for fuck's sake, I need that car. And look, it drove me in that moment, but now I don't really give a shit. Like, I've got a nice car, but I have a nice car because I'm afforded certain things because of the work and everything I've done to get there. But it's not. You're never going to see me putting up Instagram. I don't even have fucking Instagram. Well, I do, but I'm not putting anything on it. But you're not going to see like, oh, here's a watch. Here's a watch, and I'm taking it from the angle so you can see the make of the car.
Quite sad
and all that.
though. People do that. People literally will post something just to get attention.
Yeah.
And like, why the fuck do you care? Because you're probably actually not even happy in that moment. You're just fucking making your dinner plate look nice just so you can get a few likes. Like, it's quite sad. But anyway, there's something I wanted to talk about. You've been nominated for a few awards.
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
Yeah. What were they? There's 2 or 3, wasn't it?
There's one Unsung Hero and Personality
of the Year or something,
Yeah.
Personality Award.
Yeah, and my response to the personality was which one, and
which one of 9?
Yeah, exactly.
Seen that
film? Are you talking about Dave or Alex?
You look a bit like you actually.
Yeah, but yeah, it's apparently so. And look, we're doing things a bit differently, and if that gets recognised, then great. I'm not trying to go out to win awards. I don't have an ego. I'm not bothered about how the world perceives me. If I'm there if all I care about is just as I said a number of times, try and make the world a slightly better place than I found it. So that's my motivation, and look, that's fixated on ALS at the moment. That's been fixated on charity stuff in the past. And look, if I get recognised for that, great. If I don't, so be it. I'm not going to be sat there in an awards do going, oh no, I hate that person who's just won. I should have got it. I'll just be like, cool, congratulations. Because look, it's nice to even be recognised for hopefully doing things a bit differently.
And making the world a better place. Not many business owners, mate, if I'm being completely transparent, will sit here and say that. Like, they want to make the world a better place, and that is why you've been nominated for quote unquote Unsung Hero. Yeah, which, by the way, as well, you've sort of got an idea of.
Well, my wife is trying to very firmly fight that idea currently. But I want to wear a cape and a mask if I win it.
Great idea.
Yeah, she's not pro it at all.
It's like a WWE walkthrough or something.
Yeah, beatbox.
Undertaker.
But yeah, I think, let's see in 10 years' time where I'm at. Let's see, because I firmly believe that by being nice and treating people properly, I'll attract the best people, and by attracting the best people, the business will pick up momentum in growth, and it will grow and grow and grow. And as I say, I've been fairly instrumental in doing that elsewhere, and so I've seen that play out. And yeah, let's see in 10 years' time whether those people that are telling me I'm full of shit are still sat there with 15, 20, 30 billers, that they might be making more off of each of those people. But hopefully at that point, I'll be sat there with 300, 400, however many I can get it to, flogging it for a daftly large amount of money. And then I will wave at them as I disappear on my yacht or whatever.
And I'll be there with you.
Yeah, you will be welcome on my yachts.
I hope so.
Hopefully your yacht will be moored next to mine.
Yeah, we can have one together.
Exactly.
We'll
just
them.
double down. Everyone twice the size. But sort of joking aside, look, a lot of people hate on what we do, and I understand it, because look, I wouldn't want to be a owner of another business that's competing for a candidate that we're after, and we're going, we'll give you 50 to 80%, and we'll give you unlimited flexibility, because they're going to be sat there going, fuck's sake, I pay 10% of everything they build, and they're paying 50. We're not paying 50% of everything they build, just to be clear, because I would be bankrupt. So there's a threshold, but are a high performer. People who aren't performing should never join us. We're a terrible option. But if someone's performing well, I would be surprised if anywhere else they will earn more than us, and that's quite difficult to compete with, especially if you've got a business model that's set up and the owners are sat there ripping as much money out of the business as they can. I don't do that. My income is actually fixed for the next 10 years, so however successful we get, I can't earn above a certain level, and I've put that in all of the official company documents deliberately, so I don't then get excited by it and start driving around in Rolls-Royce Wraiths and
yachts.
Yachts. The yacht will come. It'll come later. Till then, I'll borrow friends.
And that's what I love, though. It's the longevity of the vision that you've got. It's not a quick fix. It's something that you're gonna, I believe, move mountains to achieve. Yeah. I believe in you. I hope everyone else believes in you, because I think, if there is anyone out there right now who is a fucking top performer in the 360 space and fancies working for a boss that's actually going to treat you like an adult, this is your man, guys. Alex Dick, ALS.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Cool.
Guys, catch you next time. See you in a bit.